All right. Welcome everyone to the October 6th Rook Community Meeting. Good to be with you today. We'll excuse Jared who couldn't be with us. And let me go ahead and try and share my screen again, and we'll talk through the agenda here. Let's see. So desktop one. No. Let's try this one. Share. Okay. Can you just see my Google Doc window?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Here we go then. Okay. So we'll start with the usual project board discussion and what's happening. So 1.3 releases, I think we're in a good place there. We don't have any more planned releases. The project board is empty, no active issues. Let me just bring it up here for completeness for the discussion. Yeah, I think a couple weeks ago I tried to make a pass through this and make sure nothing else was needed for 1.3, and it's clear. Is anybody aware of anything needed for 1.3 though, before I assume that we're good? I'll take that as a no, and we'll go on to the 1.4 board. All right, so the 1.4 board, I think there's nothing urgent that I'm aware of. We can follow our bi-weekly cadence for releases just to pick up the latest bug fixes. That would mean, let's see, last Thursday was our last release, the 1.2.5. So we'll plan on Thursday of next week. What is that? About the 18th of October. We'll plan on that next release for 1.4.6. I don't know that we need to talk through any of these specific issues. And I've got a later agenda item to talk about EdgeFest, so we'll come back to that one in a minute. But does anybody have specific issues to bring up for 1.4? And if you think of any after the fact, yep, you add them to the project board so we can be aware of them. Yep. All right. And then 1.5, we're still just targeting the week before KubeCon around November 10th. I think that was a Tuesday. We settled on as being the target. So probably about a week before that, we'll create the release branch and do the testing and all of that first week of November. And let's see what's happening in the 1.5 board. Personally, I haven't reviewed this recently, so that could be a bit out of date. So I guess as usual, if whatever's in progress for changes in master, if we could make an effort to make sure the board is updated.
Yeah, can you move the first one in the to-do list to the left, to in progress? No. The support
in which column?
Yeah, this one.
Oh, yeah, that's in progress, exactly. Yep, Subham's working on the API extensions. Oh, maybe just to talk to the API extensions for a minute. So in Kubernetes 1.17, or was it 16? Sorry, the API extensions v1 became available and v1 beta 1 was deprecated. Support will be in until 1.22 for the v1 beta 1. But on the latest releases of Kubernetes, you get warnings whenever you install Rook now, because we are still using the v1 beta 1. So I did a little prototype of this last week, and I feel comfortable with going ahead and making these changes in master and basically the 1.5 release. And I have some level of confidence that upgrades will be fine. It still needs lots of testing and things, but basically the main part of this change is that we really have to define every setting in the schema, the CRD schema, which we have very large complex CRDs, so it's not exactly easy to define all of that. And Yeah, so that the risk is that we have some optional setting that we forget to add to the schema, and then somebody's CRD doesn't work. So I just want to be really thorough with this one and make sure we get as much coverage as we can on that testing. Any questions on that topic with the API extensions? No, okay. Let's see, and any other items here that anybody wants to discuss? Yep, a few things in progress with Vault and stretch clusters design. Yep. So anyway, we'll update that board separately unless there's anything else for that topic. Okay, any questions about a release schedule in general before we go on to the general topics and questions? Sounds good. Graduation, the exciting topic of the week. We have officially received 7+1 binding votes, which means we have enough votes for graduation. CNCF has said we have arrived, and the press release will go out tomorrow for that. So don't talk to your friends in the media quite yet until that's out, but we are excited that it is done. So thank you for all your hard work contributing to that. It's been a great journey. I am working on a blog with that. Jared and I were at least working on that. I'll send out a draft to the maintainers for those interested in giving feedback, or if you have a, we should have multiple quotes from maintainers, I think, in that blog. That'd be really nice to get people's input on everything. So Alexander and Sebastian and then others.
Yeah, that's great news, especially also to put it from to directly, as you said, with quotes, kind of. It's especially good for the customers which are actively using RookSF to hear that news. It's awesome.
Yeah, so congratulations, everyone.
Yep, really good milestone.
Yes. There's no more milestones. We've just arrived. We can all go on vacation now.
Right, yeah, it's the end of the ride. Okay. Was the last milestone. Okay. I think well, okay. They should probably try to add a new one.
Add a new milestone for,
yeah,
so we don't.
Maybe. Yeah. Otherwise, they would get way too much components in it.
No, honestly though, it's good. It's good publicity for the project, but at the end of the day, we're still working on features and bug fixes, making it the best it can be, and it's just a nice marketing milestone.
Yeah, I think it's a good message also for the adoption too, the maturity and things like that. So it will bring maybe more confidence to people to use it.
Exactly. Yep. Okay. Any other comments on graduation? All right, Alexander, you have the next item for Helm charts.
Yes. Yeah, what I wanted to talk about there is, as I'm looking at creating a Helm chart for the Ceph cluster object and possibly even more, the question arises if it still makes sense to use, well, as we have it, if it still makes sense to have the Helm charts in the same repository as Rook itself, instead of having a separate repository. Especially, I think, in the starting period of the Helm chart, even with reviews as such, I think there might be a lot of changes needed fast to get that whole thing moving. So it's more or less the question on if we would see maybe creating a separate repository for just the Helm charts, to basically decouple that, and also like the publishing of the Helm charts there to make it just completely independent. Well, sounds like an idea to follow. with the Helm charts.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the first question that comes to my mind is, what do we do about versioning and releases when it's time to release? We want to basically version the Helm chart with the Rook release and the images that we're building and things.
That's the thing I learned while working with Helm in the last last few weeks, months. That's like there isn't really necessarily a connection, at least to the chart version, to the application version. There's two variables, let's call them parameters in the metadata of a Helm chart, where one of them is the chart version, because the chart can move independently in version and even has to move independently, depending on the publishing mechanism. And there's a second parameter, which is the app version, which would then basically be the version of Rook this Helm chart is targeting. Meaning that if we would have a Helm chart, I don't know, let's say we're going to write one before 1.5, that version, the app version, would be like 1.45 or something, like the latest 1.4 patch release. So that, you know, with ease, anyone using it would get the latest version this Helm chart is possibly also then tested for. And then if 1.5 would come out, at latest then the Helm chart would be tested against the latest 1.5 version, and then have this app version raised in the chart metadata, so that then everyone which would deploy or anyone which would update would automatically get this new version. Or even just specify their own image tag and everything, and so to say don't care about this kind of the safe default we're giving them.
Right. Well, and we only right now publish the Helm chart for the latest release anyway. Like as soon as v1.4.0 came out, like we stopped publishing the 1.3 charts because 1.4 was now our release channel. So that's an interesting thought, I guess, to have an independent Helm chart repo where we could, you know, move quicker on those changes.
And it would more or less also kind of like force the whole thing to move forward all the time.
Right. So yeah, do you have I guess you have that issue there. It'd be good if we could do it. I think a design doc would help, or just describe, hey, what are we trying to do? What benefits will we have? Are there any downsides to this? And I mean, have you looked also at how we might structure the Helm charts, as far as should we have a Helm chart per CR, or kind of
that's still an open question also on my end, because in the end there's multiple ways depending on how those points are seen. I think going with having that's the thing. Like depending on the structure, it would be one big chart, but with sub charts, so that I could like use each single chart, but we could also have it as independent charts, which would then like require have their own dependencies and such. But I think it's more or less depending on the structure we're going to use. And I think the first one, there's multiple ways. That's that's with all things.
Yeah, and honestly, Helm is an aspect of Rook that I've felt for a long time we need to have someone really actually become the Helm expert and drive this whole design and discussion. So yeah, if that interests you, maybe Blaine, I guess we'll see. But this is a great topic.
I had the chance to work more with Helm the last few weeks and months, so maybe I'm able to bring the bit of experience I made there into the existing operator chart. But just at least from a publishing perspective, I think it might. That's why I proposed it. I'm going to create a design document then about that. The proposal basically would be, let's just kind of remove the Helm part from the Rook repository and use like the normal Helm publish mechanism. I think we are using it partially, so I'm not sure if it's really just like a packaging it and pushing it somewhere. Yeah, I have to see. I'm gonna write up the design. That is a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have the CI pipeline that publishes the Helm chart. So does that mean we'd need to just update that pipeline whenever it's time to publish, or so CI questions?
Yeah, depending on how we would do it. As it like from a just a Helm chart standpoint, as they're independent normally of the software, it's more or less just well, so to say, just another day of you're changing something in the chart, and the person automatically increases the chart version. Then when the PR is merged, the chart version is automatically updated in the repository. And well, yeah, that's kind of the cycle it would go.
So did you say you get a new chart version every time someone commits?
Yes. Depending on how we do the CI flow.
Yeah.
But I think just as it's a different, like it's not bound to the Rook Ceph too much anymore, or at least kind of restrictable, as said, by this F version parameter as a recommendation. Yeah, it might be not ignorable. What is the word? Yeah, well, it might be an option to do it like this.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, let's continue that discussion offline. And I guess, does anybody else have thoughts on that before we move on to the next topic? Yep, sounds good, Alexander. Thanks for that topic. Then moving on to EdgeFS. So recently, Jared and I reached out to Dimitri from EdgeFS and had a discussion on, well, what is the latest status of EdgeFS? We haven't seen updates on GitHub issues or responses on Slack. So what's going on? So the response from DDN, the owner of EdgeFS, is that they're working on a replacement product for EdgeFS, and so they decided to officially deprecate EdgeFS in Rook, and that announcement is here. Well, let me just go ahead and click on that. So for the recording, I'll read it. Dear Rook community, dated Direct Networks, the owner of EdgeFS would like to inform you that we do not plan to publish further enhancements or fixes to EdgeFS. However, we do plan to announce a replacement product in the near future that is intended to provide much of the same functionality of EdgeFS. Please contact us. If you are currently using EdgeFS in production and would like to discuss options to migrate to this new product, we'll post further announcements in the EdgeFS Slack channel at a later time. Yep, so that is the announcement. It's sad to sort of see EdgeFS deprecated, but that is the reality of the situation. So with that, the EdgeFS team has opened this PR to mark EdgeFS as deprecated, meaning it is still in the Rook builds. We'll hold on to it a while longer, and at some point, I mean, we'll also remove it from the builds. We'd like more information from DDN on the replacement as well before we decide on that. But that is the status. Any questions on it? Yeah, the GitHub issues have been closed as well, since there is no plan to make more enhancements to EdgeFS. Yep. And if you're wondering, it really is totally coincidental with graduation. And here we are. That brings us to the end of the agenda for today. Does anybody else have something to bring up on any topic? PRs to review or whatnot?
Nothing from my side.
Okay,
Good. Thanks.
sounds good. I guess we'll call it a day then. And thanks everybody for being here. And we will catch you later.
Thanks. Have a good week.
Have a good week.
Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. And thanks, Scott, again for the meeting. And talk to you later.
Nice to meet you. Bye.